Being good at everything is why you're replaceable. Isagi figured that out. World Cup 2026 is coming. The players on that stage aren't the most complete. They're the ones nobody can replace. Isagi didn't become dangerous by being better than everyone else at everything. He became dangerous by knowing exactly what he was for, in the specific moments nobody else could cover. This video is about how he figured that out, and what it means for anyone who's been getting better at everything and still feeling replaceable. Because being useful everywhere is exactly what makes you replaceable. Blue Lock strips everything back. One question, every match, every moment. What do you specifically bring that nobody else in this room can bring right now? Most players answer that question the wrong way. They try to become the answer to every question, cover every gap, fill every role, be the player the team can put anywhere because he's solid everywhere. And in Blue Lock, that player gets eliminated. Not because he's weak, because he's interchangeable. The system can replace him with anyone who's equally solid everywhere. There's nothing specific about him that creates a moment nobody else can create. You know this feeling. The job application where you listed every skill you have. The meeting where you contributed to every agenda item. The project where you made yourself available for every task. Useful, reliable, forgettable. Because anyone with a similar background can do what you just did. Isagi watched that happen to player after player in Blue Lock, and he started asking a different question. Look at where Isagi is in that frame. Not where the ball is, not where the defenders are, where the goal is going to come from. He's already there, before the play exists, before anyone else knows to look. That's not raw ability. That's a specific answer to a specific question. What can I do right now that nobody else in this room can do? He wasn't trying to be the best at everything. He was trying to be the only one at something. Think about the room you're trying to matter in right now. Not every room, that specific room. Is there one thing you can do, or one way you can see something that nobody else in that room has taken as far as you have? If the answer is yes, that's your weapon. If the answer is no, now you know where the gap is. The question isn't what you're weak at. The question is what you're for. And those are not the same question. So here's what answering the right question actually produces. Not a better version of the same player, something different entirely. The counter insight is this. Getting better and becoming irreplaceable are not the same target. Most people treat them like they are. They assume if they keep developing, keep arriving across every sea, irreplaceability is what they eventually arrive at. It isn't. Getting better makes you a more competitive version of everyone else who's getting better. Becoming irreplaceable means creating moments that only you can create. Those require completely different decisions. Watch what Isagi does there. A more technically complete player is in that frame. Faster, stronger, more polished across most metrics. But Isagi produces the result. Not because he outskilled them, because he was already in the position that made the result possible before anyone else had decided to be there. That's role clarity in action. And it's available to anyone who's willing to ask the right questions first. Look at the positions in that frame. More capable players, better technical attributes, all of them in the wrong place. Isagi is in the right one. That's not raw ability. That's a specific answer to a specific question repeated until it becomes the one thing in the room nobody else can do. Think about what you've been developing this year. Are you developing things that make you a more competitive version of everyone else in that room? Or are you developing the one thing that makes you the person in that room nobody else can replace? One of those makes you better. The other makes you irreplaceable. And here's what makes this specifically hard for people who are genuinely trying. The better strategy feels less productive. Covering weakness feels like progress. Developing broadly feels responsible. And going deeper on one specific thing feels narrow. Feels like a risk. It's not a risk. It's the only move that actually makes you irreplaceable. But here's what Isagi had to learn the hard way. There's a version of this that looks exactly like what he was doing and produces the opposite result. The player who does everything right and ends up more replaceable because of it. You already know who that player is. So who's the player who does everything right and still ends up stoppable? Rin or Toshi? The most talented player in Blue Lock by almost any measure. Stronger than Isagi, faster, more technically complete, better in direct competition across most metrics. If you were building the perfect striker from scratch, Rin is closer to that template than almost anyone in the system. And here's what that produces. A player whose threat is based on being better than you. That's real. That's dangerous. Nobody in Blue Lock takes Rin lightly. But better can be neutralized. If someone gets close enough to his level, trains hard enough, develops enough, Rin's edge shrinks. Isagi's value is based on something different. Being somewhere specific that nobody else identified. Answering a question nobody else in the room was even asking. That's a different problem to solve, and it's harder. And it's the difference between being the person everyone respects and being the person nobody can stop. You know someone like this. The person in your field who seems to do everything well, who you'd objectively say is more capable than you across most areas. And yet, when the specific moment arrives that actually needs something particular, they're not the one people look for. You've never been able to explain that until now. Look at what each player does in that frame. Rin, complete. Technically superior. Covering every angle the situation presents. Isagi, already somewhere specific. Somewhere the situation is going to need someone to beat. Same moment, different question being answered. Rin is answering, what can I do here? Isagi is answering, what does this moment specifically need that nobody else is going to provide? Same system, same match, same stakes. One player trying to be the best, one player trying to be the only one. You've seen this. The most capable person in the room, not the one the moment needed. And someone who looked like they had less, somehow being exactly what the moment required. It wasn't luck, it wasn't politics, it wasn't who knew who. It was role clarity versus coverage first strategy. And you've been watching that gap your whole career without knowing what to call it. Now you do. Rin has more talent. Isagi has more clarity about what he's for. And talent you can prepare for. Clarity about your specific value, that's harder to stop. So what does Isagi actually have that makes him harder to stop? Here's what makes Isagi harder to stop. It's not a skill he developed. Every time he steps into a match, before the ball moves, before the play develops, before anyone else has started reading the situation, Isagi has already asked the question, what does this moment specifically need that nobody else in this room is going to provide? And then he positions himself as the answer. That's not talent. That's not training harder than everyone else. That's a specific decision about what value you're going to bring made before the moment asks for it. Watch what he does before the play happens. Not reacting, deciding. He's already committed to a specific position, specific answer before everyone else has asked the question. That's role clarity at full expression. You don't need to be the most talented person in the room. You need to be the most specific about what you bring to the moment nobody else is going to cover. Not better at everything, clearer about one thing. The thing that you see that others don't. The position you take that nobody else in your room is taking. The specific value that if you committed to it fully, makes you the person nobody can replace in that moment. You've been told your whole life to cover everything instead. I did the same thing for years. I stacked every skill, said yes to every role, became the guy who could help with anything, and somehow, still the easiest one to replace. Stop and ask the question Isagi asks. What can I do right now, in a specific room, this specific moment, that nobody else here is going to do? Answer that. Build toward that. Make yourself the only answer to that question. That's your weapon. World Cup 2026. The players on that stage aren't the most complete. They're the ones nobody could find an answer to. That's what Isagi became. Not the most talented player in Blue Lock, the hardest one to stop. Because he stopped trying to be good at everything and started being specific about the one thing nobody else in that room was going to be. Isagi didn't figure this out alone. He figured it out inside a system that forced the right question. I built the Star Heart Guild on Patreon for exactly that. Monthly challenges, deep dives, the structure that forces you to get specific about what you actually bring instead of covering everything and staying forgettable. Founding enrollment is still open. First members in get their name on every video permanently. Everything's in the description. Everyone can be replaced by someone better. Nobody can replace the person who's already in the position nobody else identified. Until next time, crew, under the glow of stars, we forge our future together. Captain Geo Bravo, signing off. Peace.